Alright boys, welcome back to BBR Week 8. For this final week of BBR, we are facing T-Row, who you can check out in the top right hand corner if I do remember to put his team, and T-Row is now mathematically out of playoffs, so this game does not matter for him. However, this game very much matters for us. We need to not only win, but we need one of two things to happen. We need either Slocking and the Cotswold Whimsicots, I believe his name is, to lose, or we need Gentleman Thomas to lose. Thomas went on a tear and got two back-to-back 6-0s, which put his differential far above ours, which we still have a good differential. I think we're 0 or +1 at 3 of 4, which is definitely a good differential, but not good enough. So it actually does not matter how much we win by. If Thomas wins, it is impossible for us to make playoffs unless we 6-0 and he 1-0s. So we need one of Slocking or Thomas to lose in order to make playoffs. And at the time of me recording this, I'm not even putting on a show. They have not played, neither of them. So I do not know if I win, if I'm in playoffs. But for right now, we are in week 8 and we need to win this game to have any chance of making playoffs. We're facing T-Row and we have a pretty good matchup. Obviously, you guys can very clearly see it. I'm a lot more comfortable with this team than the original team we drafted. We have some hard hitters like Bernardo who have helped us out a ton. I'm very excited to get into this match. So let's go ahead, let's focus up, let's talk about T-Row's team. T-Row's Iron Valiant, which we actually, thankfully, match up very well against. He also has Hisuian Samurai, Dragonite, Metagross, Sandy Shocks, Zarude, Hisuian Typhlosion, Serena, Terra Hisuian Braviary, which is going to be flying, and Electric, Ursaring, and Swalot. As far as all of his Pokemon, let's just run down the list. I think Iron Valiant does very well in this matchup. Booster Speed is very possible, but Booster Attack with Sword Stance with just Shadow Sneak is also a very real possibility. Because if he has Shadow Sneak, he doesn't really need the speed. Booster Attack seems very likely to me. His last two moves will be some combination of like Shadow Claw and Spirit Break. If he is physical, he could also be special. This is one of the hard parts about prepping for Valiant, right? Like, it can be so many different things, but because we have Glow King, I do think he is gonna be physical, and he could be Shadow Claw or Knockoff, and we kind of have to play around that. But some form of Valiant comes. Like I said, I'm expecting SD Booster Attack with Sneak, Shadow Claw, or Knockoff, and the Fairy move. Hisuian Samurai is another Pokemon that does very well into us. There are a ton of different sets that he could be. There's of course Scarf, there's Sash Lead. Those are really the two primary sets that I expect in this matchup, but he could also be AV to try to mitigate the Chi-Yu a little bit, but I don't know how much he wants to do that since I've shown a tendency to run Will-O-Wisp Chi-Yu, and Will-O-Wisp is very free into his team. Ceaseless Edge is obviously something that is a little annoying for our team to deal with. Bramblegast, I'll be honest with you guys, is not coming this week. It's really poor in this matchup. It loses to the water type, and we're not really able to get that spin off. Our only real remover that T-Row will have to worry about is Defog on our Scizor, and obviously it's not really the best. Next up, Dragonite. We have good Dragonite counterplay in Screamtail and a lot of things that outspeed it. However, Dragonite can get a little bit dicey. If he wants to outspeed the Dragapult at +1 speed, he will have to go Jolly. If he doesn't want to respect that, he doesn't think I'm going to be max speed Dragapult, he can't just go Adamant to get the most damage possible. But because we have Screamtail, Dragonite's a little difficult to ever get going. He could be banded, but I do very much so expect Weakness Policy to try to abuse my Screamtail, or he could just be like Boost Dragon Dance. I think also makes sense if Dragonite even comes. Dragonite could definitely not come. Metagross is a Pokemon that, again, I'm kind of on the fence about. I could definitely see it being his 7th mon if he does not bring it, but Bullet Punch priority is fantastic into my team. But it does lose to so many of our great Pokemon like Dragapult, Chi-Yu, Bernardo, Scizor, even Rotom. So if he does bring it, it's probably going to be some sort of a Stealth Rock bot, maybe Stealth Rock Explosion even. I'm not really sure. Heavy Slam, like, it could be a lot of different things, but realistically I'm thinking it's the 7th mon in this matchup. Andy Shocks does great in this matchup. The 101 speed tier matches up super well into my team, unfortunately. In Ground and Electric, our team doesn't have great resist to. We have Lando T, and that's really about it. Rotom obviously does not love taking the Thunderbolts. He could be more of an offensive Sandy Shocks, but I do expect him to go more of a hazard setting one with like Stealth Rock, Volt Switch, Earth Power, or Scorching Sands, and then Electric coverage, or try attack to hit the Lando. Zarude's a weird one. Zarude could come, but I think there are 6 better Pokemon. Again, like Hisuian Samurai, we don't have great Dark Resist. He could just be Scarf, but it also has a very nice speed tier into me, so he could be Banded, he could be Swords Dance Trailblaze, for instance. A lot of good sets. Zarude could come, but I really think there's 6 better Pokemon. Hisuian Typhlosion. I did not prep for this last season against Owen in BBR, and it destroyed us. I actually do think Hisuian Typhlosion is a fantastic matchup into us. We faced 3 ghost types in a row after we made our team very ghost weak. Obviously, not ideal, but because of that, I do think he could bring it, but I'm kind of on the fence. I think the 6th mon is either this or Metagross, because we do have both Bernardo and Chiyu. Chiyu resists dual stabs, and it's at a bad enough speed here to where it wants to be Scarf in this matchup, but doesn't really have the luxury of doing a lot of damage if it does that. So all of that is to say, Hisuian Typhlosion can come, and it could be very scary if he does bring it, but we prepped adequately for it, so I think we can actually handle it. Serena doesn't make sense. If Serena comes, I'd be shocked. My ground type beats him with U-turn. Obviously, Rapid Spin plus Triple Axle can be annoying, but obviously, I'm not bringing Brambogas in this matchup. I think that should be insanely obvious. So I don't really think he should bring Spin, because if there's any removal, it has to be Scizor, so I remove the hazards on his side of the field as well. So I don't really think he should bring Serena. Hisuian Braviary is extremely scary. I'm not sure what set he could be, but we do have counterplay to most sets. The set that I'm the most worried about is going to be Calm Mind, Agility, Stored Power. That set does put us kind of in a blender as far as how good that set is into the specific team that we are bringing. I think he's going to be terrifying because we don't have great flying resist, and the ones that we do don't have recovery. Could also just be Life Orb, could be Specs, could just be 4 attacks with like Esper Wing to try to get that speed boost. A lot of this stuff would make sense, and I do have a hard time seeing Hisuian Braviary not come. Ursaring is interesting this matchup. We have a lot of ways to beat it, but it could come just because of Dragapult existing, because Dragapult is a very good matchup if it doesn't come, but also Dragon Dance Dragapult, which is definitely a possibility looking into his team, just beats it. So I'm not really sure if that's the route he wants to go. And then lastly, Swalot, like if he's scared of T-Spikes, maybe, but I don't really see it. Like, it's his last game of the season. Maybe he wants to bring all of his Pokemon and he brings Swalot. That would be like the only way I could see Swalot coming. And I'm a big Swalot guy. I love Swalot. All of this is to say the 6 that I think that are coming are Valiant, Samurott, Dragonite, Andy Shocks, Hisuian Braviary, and Hisuian Typhlosion. As far as the team that we're bringing, shout out Obo for giving me a handful of mocks this week. I did 2 or 3, but I really liked my build, so we didn't do too many, but Obo gave me some good shout outs. The first Pokemon that we are bringing is going to be Bernardo, and we are going to be Terra Fire this week, making full usability of both of our Terra types this season. He doesn't have great fire resistance, and I want to abuse it. I'm going to be honest, and I can talk about this freely since T-Ro's not making playoffs. There's no chance of us ever replaying with these exact 2 teams. I almost brought Banded Bernardo. There were virtually no switch-ins, but I was getting destroyed by Hisuian Typhlosion in the mocks, so I didn't really want to do that. So we actually went with Assault Vest here, and we're going to be a pretty simple set. Sucker Punch for priority on things like Hisuian Typhlosion, or some last-ditch effort chip on something like the Valiant. Flare Blitz because there are virtually no resist on his team. The things that do resist it, we Head Smash. The Dragonite, the Hisuian Typhlosion, they don't like the Head Smash. And then Knock Off because we didn't really need a 4th move. I did debate Drain Punch, but ultimately it's not going to matter in my opinion, so I did go with Knockoff because it's a very free click into the Hisuian Typhlosion. I might have said Samurai earlier. Very free click into the Hisuian Typhlosion, which this mon is meant to check. We can potentially knock off whatever the Dragonite's holding. We can knock off whatever his potential switch into Bernardo is, and obviously losing the item is no drawback for us. We are going to be 8 HP, 136 attack adamant, 124 defense, 168 special defense, and 72 speed. With this, we can outspeed the 12 speed Serena. We can take 2 specs modest Shadow Balls from Hisuian Typhlosion. Again, I really think he has to be Scarf, but worst case scenario, we're able to take those hits. We live a booster attack, Iron Valiant, close combat, and then with the rest into attack adamant. Bernardo in general just does so good looking at his entire team. There's virtually no switch ins to this Pokemon because we are lacking the fighting coverage. Obviously, Hisuian Samurai is able to switch into us, but he doesn't know that, and we're not going to throw off our Terra until we click Flare Blitz, which honestly isn't going to be super early in the match, so he is going to have to be aware that we could very easily be Terra Water. So Hisuian Samurai should not switch into us, and that's why I'm comfortable with the set that we have. Head Smash destroys the Dragonite, Flare Blitz unresisted otherwise, and even Terra Flare Blitz is going to do a ton of damage to the Samurai, and Sucker Punch gives us a lot of leeway versus things like Hisuian Braviary as well as Dragonite. Our next Pokemon is going to be Phantasmo, the Dragapult. We're going to be Boots this week because I'm not super confident we can get rid of those spikes if he does set them up. We're going to be Will-O-Wisp to burn a ton of different things, specifically the Dragonite and the Metagross, as well as the Hisuian Samurai and the Zarude. That way we can set up the Dragon Dance in front of them, and we have Dragon Darts to do a ton of damage. Hex is also a very viable in-game. I'll talk about it in a little bit, but we're bringing T-Spikes and the things that we can't poison with T-Spikes, we can burn with Willow on this and another Pokemon that we have in the back. And this set just feels so good, and I think this set finally should be able to do Dragapult some justice this season. We outspeed Valiant naturally, and we outspeed Hisuian Braviary at +1. We're adamant to O-Coat Dragonite once we get to +1 with the Dragon Darts. We live a burned max attack adamant Metagross knockoff into Heavy Slam, and then we 2-hit KO max HP Zarude at +1, and we went the rest into special attack. And this is very easily going to be our win con, but also a revenge killer because we're boots, we don't care about hazards. It's going to be very easy to pick off KOs with this Pokemon. Unless he has Ursaring, he doesn't have great counterplay to this Pokemon. Even once we get that Pokemon shipped, he doesn't have great counterplay. We can abuse the Ursaring if he is a Rest Talk variant and get up some Dragon Dances, and one Dragon Dance puts us in a prime position to potentially win the game with Dragapult. We just have to stay out of range of the Iron Valiant Shadow Sneak. Our next Pokemon, the Glue. Once again, we have Glowking going for a very similar build as last week, more playing into Dragapult is the win con than last week. We're going to be Slack Off, T-Spikes, Sludge Wave, and Foul Play. And we're going to be Colbur Berry. It's hard to go either Colbur or Kasib to call what the Valiant will do, but I'm going to go Colbur because I think Knockoff does better on the Valiant in this matchup than Shadow Claw. If he's Shadow Claw and Valiant, then he got me, man. I can't have both berries. For 20 HP, max defense, 160 special attack, and 76 special defense. Calm. Foul Play is here for both the Dragonite and the Metagross. Sludge Wave does a ton of damage. Sludge Wave over Sludge Bomb because we have T-Spike the poison, and T-Spike poisons are so good on so many different things. Specifically, that Iron Valiant that T-Spike is going to be crucial for. After 2 rounds of T-Spikes, it should be in range of a Bullet Punch from Scizor. They also hinder the Andy Shocks as well as the Hisuian Samurai, but the main purpose of T-Spikes are going to be because I want to win with Hex Dragapult, and I think obviously T-Spikes is going to be the best way to do that. And for the things that can't get toxic, and for the things that don't touch the ground, we have Will-O-Wisp for, and they don't like to get Will-O-Wisp. Dragonite, Metagross, Hisuian Braviary, I mean Hisuian Braviary kinda, but we can live a booster attack knock at +2 from the Valiant after rocks. That's a mouthful, but if he's Shadow Claw, we die. We can also live a +1 Shadow Ball from Booster's Special Attack Valiant if that's the route he wants to go after rocks. And then we went the rest into Special Attack. We have a lot more Special Attack than my intention was. I debated going bulkier. I decided not to overthink it. We're going to go with this Special Attacking Slowking, I guess. It is what it is. It's not... This is the set that I'm not 100% sold on. We also don't touch the Hisuian Braviary. And I thought about going Acid Spray again for that. That way we can lower the special defense, outspeed with Dragapult, you know, the whole ordeal. However, then we don't OHKO Valiant. And that is way more important. And I also think foul playing the Metagross as well as the Dragonite is also very, very crucial. The whole plan, we might lead this Pokemon. Odds are, if we see Hisuian Samurai, we're not going to lead this Pokemon, but we might. If Hisuian Samurai is there, though, we're actually going to lead our next Pokemon, but essentially, we want to get T-Spikes up early. Our next Pokemon is going to be our lead if we see Hisuian Samurai. We're going to be Crab Legs the Scizor. Defog, Swords Dance, Bullet Punch, and Pounce. Pounce is going to be to attack the Hisuian Samurai, which may or may not be Focus Sash off lead. And then we can outspeed it the following turn, outspeed it, and get a Defog off. This is crucial because the Hisuian Samurai has priority. I'm not super confident he's going to sack it immediately, so I like having the potential to outspeed that after a Pounce. Or we just OHKO it raw if we bounce. Bullet Punch is here for priority on Valiant, and Swords Dance is because we have something in the back for Dragonite and we can Swords Dance in Dragonite's face. I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but that is essentially the mind games there. We had Knockoff for a little bit, but I don't outspeed the Hisuian Typhlosion. Metagross cannot touch me, so I can Swords Dance and Pounce it. We're 168 attack adamant, 168 defense, 48 special defense, and 124 speed. Speed allows us to outspeed the Hisuian Samurai after the -1 from Pounce. Like I said, we kill Valiant after 2 rounds of Toxic Spikes. We live a +2 Zarude close combat after rocks, because like I said, I don't really see Zarude coming, but if it does come, Scizor is going to be, I guess, our initial counterplay. We also live a Choice Specs Andy Shocks Earth Power, and then we put the remaining 40 into attack. I did have Boots for a little bit. Ultimately, I honestly was going to switch Boots, but I forgot. But Leftovers, I still think give us a lot of longevity, which obviously Scizor does not have, which I think is very important. Scizor is here to be led, to counter the Zarude, and to have Bullet Punch priority in the back, as well as beat the Dragonite once he falls into our trap. And that trap is going to be Squiggly Buff, our Scream Tail. I love this Pokemon. It did so well for us a couple weeks ago. This week should be no different. Wish, Encore, Calm Mind, and D-Gleam. Calm Mind, good shout out from Obo, destroys him. I had Perish Song originally to prevent setup completely, like Encore into Parasung. That way they were essentially useless if something like the Dragonite were to set up in our face. But Calm Mind, if he doesn't bring Metagross, can just easily win the game. We're Covert Cloak, and that may sound weird, but that is to avoid the flinches on the Dragonite Iron Head. That way we can Encore him into Iron Head and have the Scizor, Bernardo, and Chi-Yu to have any amount of counterplay. And then it also prevents stuff like Earth Power Spadef drops, obviously, but the main draw is going to be that Iron Head flinch. We're max HP, pretty much, max HP, rock friendly number of HP, because we want Fat Wishes into Bernardo as well as Scizor. We're 44 defense bold, 44 special attack, 164 Spadef, and 8 speed. The 8 speed allows us to outspeed Adamant Dragonite and Encore him into whatever he wants to go into, but we outspeed it because if there's ever a situation where we just win if we D-Gleam, then that's kind of the idea. We live 2 Terra Flying Hisuian Braviary Hurricanes, and that's if he's modest. We live 2 Adamant Earthquakes at +1 from the Dragonite in case he's not packing Iron Head for whatever reason, and then we went the remaining 44 in a special attack. No Metagross means Screamtail is infinitely impossible for our opponent to break, and we can abuse him in a lot of different ways, but the immediate response to Dragonite is Screamtail. If there is no Dragonite, we could use Screamtail a lot more freely as a general physical wall, even for something like the Iron Valiant, which it chews hits from, by the way. And anything that wants to set up on us, like the Hisuian Braviary, we can Encore and then take advantage of it with whatever Pokemon we have in the back. Screamtail on its own, not going to be good here. Screamtail enables all of our other Pokemon, and it does such a fantastic job at doing that. Lastly, we're going to have Yummy the Chi-Yu. We're going to be Black Glasses. This set was another one that I wasn't super convinced on. We're Will-O-Wisp, Nasty Plot, Dual Stab. Will-O-Wisp for things like the Dragonite, which outspeed us that we don't like, as well as the Hisuian Samurott, which might be the initial switch-in. Plot because once the Hisuian Samurott goes down, we plot and we kind of claim a KO. We went Black Glasses because he doesn't have great Dark Resist. Fire Blast plus Dark Pulse hits everything not named Hisuian Samurott. We have enough speed to outspeed the Hisuian Typhlosion. We live a Life Orb at Sheer Force Hisuian Braviary Hurricane, and that's if he's not Terra. It's and then we went the rest in special attack. This mon helps with a lot of different things. Specifically, its speed tier is going to be nice, but it helps with the Hisuian Typhlosion, which otherwise we obviously don't deal with well. The only problems that I have with this current build, Hisuian Braviary can definitely get out of hand, and Ursaring is a little difficult for us to break, but I do think ultimately we can deal with it. And that's going to be it. Let me know what you guys think of the team down below. I think we got a pretty good chance to win. We have to win. So I'm going to try my best to play as well as I possibly can for you guys to try to get your Portland Nightshaders in playoffs. Either way, I'm very happy with how I played this season. I don't think I've really played bad a game. I think a couple games I got outplayed, a couple games I got outlucked, and that's just Pokemon sometimes. And now our whole season is on the line. We're going to put it all out there. Thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been Jonah Jr. signing off.